Hi, my name's Jackie Mitchell and welcome to We Are Biz. Our aim is to help small businesses and startups reignite, grow and develop. Let me introduce you to the rest of the team. Rob Holmes, Vinegar Creative, a website and branding agency, and Dave Webster from the Webster Consultancy IT specialist. I'm Jackie Mitchell, independent PR practitioner and copywriter. The format of our meeting is open networking to start with, followed by a webinar on topics which will interest small businesses. Our meetings are once a month on a Wednesday, and you'll find a list of them on our website, which is www.wearebiz.co.uk. Do book for one or more to learn new skills and make new contacts, and we look forward to seeing you at one of our meetings.
Webinar today is all about how to build a successful website, and I'm going to cover the topics and the areas I'm going to cover is planning, choosing the right platform to build your site on, templates and whether you should pay for them, what to include on the site, and then I've actually got a booklet or PDF I'm going to send out afterwards, but it covers things like page checklists, like sort of things you might want to consider including on your website, as well as blog ideas, and then sort of next steps. So to start with, let's look at planning. So when I do anything, whether it's branding or websites, I always start with planning. And I think that one of the best things to do is look at your competitors, what your competitors are doing. You know, if you're a builder, look at other builders' websites. If you're a photographer, look at other photographers' websites. It's not necessarily about, thanks for the intro, Jackie. That was lovely. Looking at your competitors, but also look at maybe companies you aspire to be. You know, if you've got people who are, you know, that next level up, where you might see yourself in 5 years' time, look at their websites and look at what they're doing. And then what I like to do is create a mood board. So from that, I will then literally screen grab the websites I like and think work really well and put them together on a mood board, look at their colors, look at how they use their layouts, look at the images they might use to get a sort of industry feel of where my website hopefully in the future would sit on this mood board, how it would look, you know, the colors and the design, and make sure it's, you know, obviously it needs to be different, but it fits in that sort of thing. And these are really collecting all the bits I like. And then once I've done that, it's literally getting down to pen and paper. I start with any design I do, it's always pen and paper and drawing things up first, rather than looking for loads of templates or doing lots of Googling. It's literally pen and paper and really get the ideas sort of flowing. And again, going back to a mood board and looking what's there. I'll also do a list of pages, what to include, what pages I think the site might need. You know, does the site need a shop? Is it going to have a members area? Is it going to have a gallery? Is my website going to be image focused or text focused? You know, how's my, you know, what's my business all about? And then from there, I would do a site map. We would call that sort of like a wireframe, I guess, but do a site map of what I'm including on my site. You know, the homepage, the about page, and how that all fits. What fits under what, to sort of give myself a real understanding of what's included on my website. And then once that's sort of done, I look at who's my website for. Who am I targeting? What's my the people? You know, because obviously I'm not building the website for me. I'm building the website for my customers or my clients, or my future customers or clients, I should say. So one thing I like to do is to create an avatar, the people I want to target, the people I'm aiming the website at. And so what sort of website are they expecting? What sort of website would they like? You know, and then again, that's the same with, so that's for images and of everything, you know, for messaging. You know, are they going to want things like 24-hour service or you know, fixed prices or the promises and stuff you may offer? So it's your tone of voice and giving the information you feel be suitable for them. So once that's all in place, it's then time to think about the platform. So one of the things I think the first thing to think about when you're building a website is if you want to self-host or host on a platform or a platform itself. So there's two options here. I think the most important thing there is the level of IT skills you have. You know, if you're really good on computers, you know your way around, you have a lot of time, self-hosting may be a really good option, in which case a platform like WordPress is probably a good solution for you. If, on the other hand, you know, you're maybe not so comfortable, your time's an issue, you may want to go on one of these DIY builds where you build your site on a platform and with everything's kind of contained in that platform. And there's lots and lots, hundreds of these self-built platforms cropping up all the time. Ones I'm sure you've heard of, like Wix, Squarespace, web.com, and there's loads. And I think I've got some here. Google, for example, even does their own websites as well. So there's lots and lots on there. But I think the first thing to do is decide which route you want to go down. And today I'm going to talk about a few. I'm not going to talk about them all because there's hundreds. I'm going to talk about WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, and Shopify. So Shopify is an interesting one. So if you want to build a shop, an online shop, Shopify is a great platform to work with. It's got loads of features. It's I mean, loads of websites are built on it. It's got a lot of features and things you can do, lots of add-ons. It's a great platform. The negative side of Shopify is the design. It hasn't got so many. It's a bit more rigid, but we'll come to that later. And if it's a brochure site, a simple site, again, Wix and Squarespace are probably good solutions. Okay, so why WordPress? So WordPress, as mentioned before, it's open source, which means there's a lot of templates and a lot of plugins. So basically anything you can imagine, anything you've ever seen before on a website can be achieved with WordPress. It's a much harder learning curve probably than some of the other platforms, but if you've got the time and you're up for it, WordPress is a great platform. Normally when we build websites on WordPress, it does take longer, so there's more time involved. And obviously if you go to self-host, there's no running costs. So this is a site here. It's a little video I'm going to play. This is a site we built ourselves on WordPress. And as you can see, it's actually, I'm going to show you 3 sites. They're all kind of similar. They're all shop sites, shopping websites. But this is a shop WordPress site, which is WooCommerce for the shop. So I'm going to play the video and then talk all over it. So yeah. So once you've chosen the platform, if you decide to go down the route of WordPress, depending on whatever hosting you have, you'll need to install WordPress onto that hosting. Usually this is pretty straightforward, and usually there's normally like a big blue button that says say install WordPress. And if you go for wordpress.com, there's a button that says create website. Once you have WordPress installed, you then go through the process of choosing a template, which I'll talk through later. And there's millions of templates. Some are free, and some you pay a few pounds for, a few £100 for. And again, spend time, look back at your initial mood board to see whether that's the sort of thing you want to look at. So like I said, this is a website I built in WordPress, and you can see it's a shop, but it's got a lot of design. It's quite designery because you can have, that's the way WordPress allows you to have these sort of things with these different serves and what have you. So I'll move on. Okay. So the next option, why Wix, Squarespace, and Shopify? And I put these together because these are sort of DIY self-build websites. Now, usually these are quite quick and easy to use. So you go online, you create a profile, and then you can build a website on these platforms. They've got great online support. They're really good. They're very good for brochure sites. Now they have a lot less features than WordPress. They're they kind of, most of these sort of sites you have to use the plugins that they provide. So and the templates they provide. So when WordPress is more open source, you've got a hell of a lot more. Anyone can create and develop stuff for it. So with these, there are a lot more. You have to stick to what they've got. So there's less features. They also all have monthly hosting costs, and monthly, I guess, hosting and service costs, if you want to call it. So they range in price. You have a monthly cost with these sites. And again, there's, like I said, there's less selection of templates and that sort of, maybe less choice. But then that can sometimes be a blessing. Also, with a lot of these, not Wix side of so much, but I think a lot of the others, you can add bespoke code. So if you know how to work with a developer, you can have bespoke code to actually add a lot of functionality to these platforms. This is a site here that was built on Shopify that I'm going to play, just to give you an idea. You can, like I said before, it's a bit more rigid. So it's so again, I mean, it's focused mainly around the shops. You go straight into bestsellers, and you've got to see full product list. And although you've got the other pages, they're less designed than on the Aloha site, and this is much more structured around the shop. Sorry for the vegan bookkeeper. It's a shop on selling duck, but anyway. Okay, so duck products. So getting started with websites like this, you've got it's slightly more different. Oh, sorry, yeah. It's slightly more different, but you've got templates. So the templates on somewhere like Shopify or Squarespace, you use the templates that are part of the platform. So you go on and you can choose a template, and again I'll talk about this in a moment, but there's a lot less choice. But once you've chosen your template, then you choose your colors and start putting the content in. Unlike WordPress, there's less plugins, and so therefore a lot of the functionality maybe wouldn't be there. But then sometimes you can. If you're willing to put the time in, you can do a lot of googling, a lot of searching, and find developers who have made plugins for Squarespace and Shopify. Although often the case is they're not sort of vetted and rated, and they're just, it's a bit of luck if they work. So So moving on, I'll let this play.
Some of you out there will have hopefully gathered by now that prepping quality dishes in advance is a no-brainer on so many levels.
Stop in a minute, sorry. So you can get a look and a feel of what the site looks like.
A long time ago. My name is Thomas Magidi, and I'm a food manufacturer. Thomas's specialty is duck.
So with a site like this, obviously, you know, you've got the main shop, but you've also got some of the other side pages,
I put it on
some recipe pages and what have you. If I move on, I can talk about templates. This is the big thing I want to talk about really. So templates with this, again, it's all about doing the research, making sure you find the right template for what you're looking for. You know, with templates, it's, you know, how flexible is the template? You know, does it have all the features you're looking for? I've had, and also does it have all the features you're looking for, but does it also not have all the features in the world? I've once taken oversight from someone that was just, it was a massive, really massive site that had loads of features that they weren't using, which meant the site was really slow, and it was awful for SEO, but it was just really slow and didn't really achieve what they wanted. So I think it's really important when you're looking for a template, you know, if, for example, you're, you know, a photographer, you look for a template that has, you know, lots of galleries and what have you. If, for example, it's an e-commerce shop, you're looking for one that has a shop, you know, choose a template that's right for you, but not one that has all the features. And also it's important to have a look at whether, when you're looking at templates, you know, how easy it is to change some of the features. For example, there's templates out there that won't let you change the color or let you change the font. So you need to make sure that these can be easily changed. Another big thing as well with some of these platforms, do they allow you to change the template without making it all a rebuild? So I've seen it in the past. I think Wix do this, is where if you want a new template, you have to start again with your site. And you know, hopefully for most people, their site's going to last them, you know, 5-10 years, and you probably may not want to change a lot of the content. You just want to give it a bit of a fresh bit of a design. So you may want to change the template. So you want to make sure that platform allows you to change the template without having to do a complete new rebuild. And again, with all this template, again, going back to your audience, you know, who is it you're talking to? What are the people you're trying to sell to, your customers looking for? You know, look at your audience, you know, and then style your website in that style. You're looking at images and background colors and color schemes and fonts that you think will suit that. And like I mentioned, a lot. So again, the shop's obviously a crucial thing now on websites, and all platforms, all templates normally. No, all platforms will have templates that include a shop, but not all templates will have a shop. So it's really important that you check that the template you're using includes a shop. Apart from Shopify, they all include shops, but a lot of them aren't necessarily the case. That's another thing to think about. And I think a big question is whether you go for a free template or a premium template. And I think it's a really hard question because I've done both. I would never spend any more than sort of 100, 120 quid on a template. And I've found some really, really good ones that are free and fantastic, and some really poor ones that are premium. So I think it's a hard one. A sort of top tip, I suppose, if you are going to purchase a template, is to look at people's reviews. So most developers and most templates will have sort of how many times they've been downloaded, and then people give them sort of 5 stars or, you know, whatever. And normally, and it's the same goes with plugins, it's a numbers game. So if you've got a plugin or a template that's been used thousands and thousands of times, it's probably a really good one. You know, people like it, and like, look at the reviews it's got. If it's been used a few hundred times, I'd be very wary of it, because, you know, it means people aren't reusing it. It's not as popular, and you may end up with a template that isn't so good. And then another thing there as well to bear in mind is how, because obviously with a template, you want to make sure it's been updated regularly, or with plugins, they've been updated regularly. So have a look at when that template or plugin was developed. You know, if something was developed back in 2012, it's probably, and hasn't been touched since, I wouldn't go near it. You know, you want to make sure, because you want to make sure that that template's been updated when WordPress brings out a new version, or shop. I mean, Squarespace itself, I think they're on version 7. They'll bring out a new version, and of course, any plugins you might have used could be out of date or may not work. And of course, then you need to download the new one. So you hope the developers kept it up to date. Something to bear in mind. Because of all this, Vinegar Creative, we've created our own template on the WordPress platform, so we can sort of get around the issues of. So we have the benefit of one of the big things about having good templates is it saves you a lot of time with building the site bespokely and start. You know, you hit the ground running. So with our own template, we've got it sort of quick and easy to get going, rather than having the hassle of working with either developers, we are the developers, or a poor template, and then we can add functionality as and when we go. So this is another website we've done. This actually is a website built on This is built on Squarespace. This shows the Squarespace platform. Again, it's a shopping site, and Squarespace is more of a brochure sort of site to it rather than a actual shopping thing. Although it has a shop feature and it works very well. This actually was the snow in the background was some bespoke code we added. So Squarespace allows you to add bespoke code, and this is something they wanted for their for Christmas. They wanted snow on their website, so it's something you could add to it. And this is obviously a health and a vitamin business. Look through that. Squarespace, yeah, I mean, the thing with all food platforms I'm talking around, they're all very similar, but they all give a lot of different benefits. With this client here in particular, they wanted a lot, and there's a lot of research I had to do to find out different plugins and things that work. But we really pushed Squarespace to the limit with this. I think often this site probably would have been better built in WordPress, but it needed a lot of functionality and features that maybe weren't available. So we had to go out and find them or develop them ourselves, which made it a bit tricky, but we got there in the end. So if I move on, so here, so what I mentioned earlier, I'm going to send out a PDF to you all, which just has a few things, but this is one of the things I think is really important when you're building a site. What to include. I mean, I suppose a lot of it might be quite obvious, but it's just a list of what I think could be worth having on a site, such as galleries, video testimonials, that sort of thing, services. So this will come, I will send this out anyway, but it's just a checklist of stuff I would include when building any sort of stuff I may include. I wouldn't necessarily include everything, I mean, it'd be massive, but things you could consider including. And then going back to that sort of, the good practice of things to include. So, with all websites, it's really important to have, great images. And obviously, yes, you can go out and photograph yourself. There's a lot of really good free online tools and that sort of thing. To Pixel Editor or Canva for creating graphics, or stock images, stock libraries. There's a lot there that have free images or images that are a couple of quid to pay for. And when building a site, it's really important to look at your logo and your brand colors, your color palette, and the brand font. So what sort of color and font you're going to use, and make sure the template and the branding allows that, but also you can update that and include that on your website. You need to follow whatever brand you're doing. Your social media needs to be on your site as well. And if you're adding video, the best way to add video is to upload the video to YouTube, and then you should be able to link that. So YouTube holds the video, so it has all the video is very a lot of memory, so if you don't want that on your website itself, so you host it on YouTube and then link to it from your website, so your website runs a lot smoother. You're not slowing down because of that video. The same goes with podcasting. That's the stuff you'd normally obviously add that to a podcasting platform, and then link that through to your site. And with websites is all about content. I mean, the design obviously as a designer is very important, but websites all about good content. So if you don't have those skills, I suggest working with a copywriter, hiring a copywriter or graphic designer to help create different graphical images or work on that visual identity for your site, because you're going to have the overall impact to be really, really good on your site. Then this again is some blog ideas. I'll talk about it in a minute, but blogs obviously are really important about adding fresh content to your site. And these, I suppose, are my sort of top 10. I say top 10. I'm not sure there is 10 there, but top 10 ideas for blogs. Such things as top 10s or behind the scenes of your business, and maybe even solutions to problems your customers might be facing. So having those sort of questions your customers might be asking Google, and obviously you have the answer to those on your website. So next steps. So so it's obviously really important to keep once you build your site. I think when I've a lot of my clients think, brilliant, we built the site, that's it, done. But actually, that's kind of only the start of the journey. Normally with a website, really, really important to actually keep it up to date, keep the site fresh, not just for your visitors and people coming in, your customers who may come to your site, but also for Google. Google's going to be checking your site, and it's going to be making sure your site is kept fresh with new content. And these are a few ideas of things, I do to keep my client sites up to date, So it's about having new images. I work with a garage, a local garage, and before we took over their site, they had lots of really old images, and of course cars date very quickly, and having new images of good of new cars, for example, have electric cars in there, have new cars, new style of cars, to make sure. And it's the same with anything, if you're working in any sort of industry, pictures look dated really quickly. Fashion, for example, I took not that they were in fashion, but there was a website that took over once, and people looked like it was the 90s or 80s, and it just looked so out of date because the images were just shocking, and the clothes that people were wearing just wasn't modern. And then, of course, what I mentioned for blogs. Blogs are a great and easy way to keep your site up to date. Doing a monthly blog. Some of the tips I said over earlier, just keeping your site fresh with new content. It's just a really good and simple way of doing it. And then, obviously, understanding the importance of keywords. I know people talk about SEO a lot, and everyone's throwing the word as keywords. But all keywords are really is relevant words to your business to help Google and help people when people search to find you. So, for example, if I'm an IT consultant and I've got customers maybe searching IT problems, my email's not working, or how do I install Google Mail, or those sort of questions should be answered on your website. So when people type those questions onto Google says, right, there's a guy called Dave Webster who's answering these questions, and of course put up his website. So that's kind of is, and what I wish to do with my clients is not make a massive thing of it, but say, look, let's work out what we think your keywords are. Maybe start with 8 or 12 or 16, don't have loads, and then we can add those keywords to your site. So add those keywords into your content on your site, onto the blogs you're writing, and also to image tags. So when you have an image, you tag an image with those keywords. Not all of them, but just for example, if it's an image, going back to Dave's thing, it might be Google Mail server or something, and the same with meta tags on the pages and what have you. So simple things you can do, which obviously really helps Google and also helps keeping your site fresh. And then adding new functionality. I think with a lot of people build their site and forget about it, but I think it's really good if you've got a site to add things. Do you want to add a members area? Are you doing seminars like this? So maybe you might have an e-seminar area on your site. Maybe it's time to think about having an online shop. Adding all this stuff to your site will keep it fresh. And things like social media. If you do a lot of social media posting, you do a lot of stuff on Instagram, or have you, put a live feed onto your site. So your site, every time you post on Instagram, it's going onto your site. And including things like promotions, having discounts or limited time offers, which will again, boost, add new content to your site and also boost visitors to your site, and that obviously makes it all a good mix. So yes, that's it. So at Vinegar Creative, we build sites on subscription models with no upfront costs. So if you find what sort of here seems too much, or you haven't got enough time to do this, we can help with all our subscription services. Like I say, it's a fixed fee starting at £99 per month, and that price includes an hour of our time a month to help do some of these updates. So if you're interested in that, would love to hear more. And otherwise, any questions?
Okay, thanks very much, Rob. Fantastic talk. Really good, useful tips and advice. So yeah, we do have a few questions in the chat box. Sally Rule has already asked several. So well done, Sally. So the first one is, do you suggest we should all include pricing on our websites, even if they are prices from or a range of?
A hard question. So I don't include pricing on my website. Although I may start doing it, because when I go to a website, when I look at someone else's website, I look for pricing, because I think, one, I don't have the embarrassment of ringing them up and going, oh, I'd love to work with you, and they go, yes, it's $7,000 a month, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get back to you on that, because then I would have known and it wouldn't be embarrassed, because I say $7,000, brilliant, yes, that's what I was hoping it would be. So I think from a user's point of view, it's really good having prices, because I think users want to know what the cost is. But from my side, I've always been a bit nervous. And actually, I'm speaking to Paul in a couple of weeks, and I was hoping to sort of get his feedback on it, because I think, in a way, from a user point of view, it's really good. They know what the cost is, and you don't waste time talking to people for like an hour, and then they realise they can't afford you, and you think, oh, why did I, So.
I have this. I've been in business 23 years now, and I've never put my prices on, and I'm just thinking it's a way of filtering clients. So hence the prices from or range of.
I think you have to say prices from. But I mean, I suppose the only reason that we'll stop doing it is that client who says, "Oh, I assumed it was going to be £5,000. You go, oh no, it's £100. You know, and I suppose that's why we thought. But I guess you sensible, and you say, well, what were you expecting for that price? Or and you sort of, you know, say, well, it's from, you know, if you want 20 hours of my time a month, it's going to cost more than.
Well, you can tailor the service.
Yeah. So you have a bespoke, you know, you have the prices, and then it's, you know, like a lot of websites do, it's bespoke and call for more information, you know.
Thank you.
Okay, another one from Sally. Do you recommend the platform, or does the client choose?
Again, that depends. I mean, I often have clients coming to me saying they want a site on this platform. If they're, you know, we'll try and keep the client happy. But if, of course, they want it, I mean, I think it depends on what they want. I mean, I would often sort of say, look, I think this would be a better option, or this would be a better solution. And also, often it's to do with price. I mean, a lot of the times, WordPress is probably, I mean, most people say probably WordPress is probably the best solution for most sites. But it isn't the cheapest. So, you know, you know, just because it takes longer. So it all depends on what, you know, if a client comes to me and saying, we've got this amount of budget, that may mean we can only go down one route. So that's a.
Okay, and another one, do you source the images, or does the client?
I can do. I mean, I've been sourcing images for years. So I know a lot of image libraries, and but again, of course, I work with a lot of restaurants. Of course, in their case, they might have shown food of their, you know, photos of their food, and of course, they'll source images. And, you know, maybe often though it's a mix. You know, they'll have some pictures they photographed of their own food, but then sometimes you think, well, actually, you know, we really want to get a nice picture of this, and we'll sort of do a mixture of both. But often, and for my subscription model, I normally include a couple of pictures in that on a monthly basis. So, for example, blogs are a great example, because often you're writing a blog, it's a subject maybe that you don't have lots of pictures of. So in which case I might say, well, you give me the content and I'll find, you know, some nice pictures to go along with that blog.
Thank you. Again, I think I might want to have a conversation with you, because it might be very interesting. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Bob, I was going to ask, do you happen to know of any green hosting companies?
Yes, I do. Not
on greengeek.com at the moment.
Okay, there's a company. Well, I say green. They call themselves carbon neutral hosting. I don't know if that's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
but I can find out who they are, because I had a client, and they definitely exist. So definitely, I can come back to you on that. I don't, off the top of my head, know who they are, but I think I'm sure it's going to be a thing they all will do soon, because
yeah, definitely.
I'm sure it's quite easy to. I think carbon neutral actually is quite an easy thing to do. To plant a couple of trees to actually achieve that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing I was going to ask was, do you offer, like, you've touched on SEO briefly, is SEO something you help with, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, on a basic, so I would say I do basic SEO. SEO is obviously
SEO scares the hell out of me, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't do. I think people make it scare the hell out of them, but SEO is all. I mean, it's hard work. I think that's the thing, and there's hard work. So you've got a mixture of people who do it properly and charge a lot of money because it's hard work, and people who are crooks who don't do it properly and still charge a lot of money. And I think, in a way, if you try to do it yourself or understand it, you know, if you work with a really good copywriter and you've gone for your keywords, it's something you can manage and work yourself. I mean, I always do basic SEO because I'm not a copywriter, so I couldn't ever give great SEO because, or I could work with some. So there's people there's people I know that do SEO, and I work with people. But depending on what level you want, yes, let's chat.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, and I've got another one from Bill. How important is it to include disclaimers and liability statements, and how prominent should they be?
Yeah, Jackie, if I may, Rob, just a quickie.
Yeah,
I've been dealing with a couple of clients, and a lot of them ask the questions: what's your GDPR position, your discrimination position, your sort of modern slavery statements? You're thinking, God, I'm just starting down the track and putting a website together, and I've got to include all of this stuff. So I don't clearly.
Well,
it's
Bill,
important.
I'm building a website, so that's my worry. So don't worry about that.
It's my liability, though.
well, with all that stuff, it's common practice. So all those policies, they were kind of off the shelf. I mean, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so what I always say to clients is I'll give you standard policies that I've used on many other sites that I'd recommend. But if you want to get it checked by a lawyer, do so. Do you know what I mean? Because but there is a lot of like slavery policy and all those policies. I've used them to a lot of other sites, and I've literally, I've got software that will change it to your details. But I would suggest, you need to have it by law. I don't think many people read them. I think people see them there and think, oh, that's good. But of course, it's your business. So if you I would suggest getting it checked by a lawyer. although I can add it for you, and I've used many in the past. So
I would also suggest, Bill, that you have a one-to-one with Ian Birch.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, Bill, that certainly putting a privacy notice and a cookies policy on your website should be almost a given, really.
Yeah, and I think with respect to everybody, that the sensitivity, we've all got sensitive clients, and the fact that they asked the question suggests to me it's important to them. I think it's part of your point of earlier, Rob, what's on their mind, really.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, it's a case of, yes, am I compliant? Yeah, I can make those compliance statements. So that's really good to know. And I hope everybody's on a similar page on that, I would have thought, yeah.
Okay, any more questions? Yep, Paul Shaw.
So quite often a website is just a part of a wider marketing strategy. And even small businesses will put together a marketing strategy, they'll develop a brand, they'll have brand guidelines, and then they'll develop the website that sort of supports those things. Do you offer any of that, or do you work with partners that can, put those pieces together?
Yeah, so I mean, I come from a marketing and design background, so yeah, I've worked with a lot of clients with their, looking at their marketing as a whole and how we're going to achieve that and different things we can do. So I've got part of my team is a lady called Lisa, who's a marketeer. So we would work, look at it from above. So look at what we can do together, look at their marketing strategy, and then I would do sort of website and the design kind of things. Then we might outsource, like we said before, sort of SEO or social media. But we'd happily work with the client and look at the whole of their marketing plan for them. Yeah, definitely. For example, at the garage I mentioned earlier, H&L, which I didn't share their website, but we work with them across everything. So we manage all their marketing, and we sort of see it as we do their websites, and yes, I do all the design, but a lot of other stuff we'd outsource. They do a lot of sign work and lots of all their vans, printing that stuff. So we'd manage that. We'd get someone else to actually print it, and with their social media, again, we manage that, but we've got someone else to actually do the regular posts and that sort of thing.
Great. Anything else? Anybody else got anyone? I've got one for you, Rob. So can your clients update their websites themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's complete. Again, I'm always sort of it's up to the client. I'm always happy to work with clients and see how they want it. So with any site we build, we can give you login details and you can update the site if you want. I mean, a lot of the time on my subscription service, I'll say, look, you've got an hour of my time, but sometimes that isn't enough, or they want to do blogs themselves. So I can show them how to do that. They can do so yeah, of course, yeah, they can update themselves and leave me to do the complicated stuff they can't do. So
okay, that's great, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions before we move on? Well, thanks very much, everybody. That concludes our meeting, and thanks again to Rob for a really fantastic talk. Learned so much this morning, Rob. It was really, really good. Well done, bravo. So feedback's very important to us, so do feel free to email us or connect with us on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel where you'll find all the presentations on there. So our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, March the 9th at 11 o'clock in the morning, when Jade Stiano from Be Authentic Social will be giving a free webinar on building your network with LinkedIn. So Jade's with us today, so perhaps you'd like to give us an overview, Jade. Well, I thought she was. She is, yes.
I am. I'm here. Yes, thank you for having me. It was really good to get an idea of who's going to be in the room next month, actually. And hopefully there'll be lots of practical tips that you can take away, key areas to focus on. If you've only got 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, what should you be doing on LinkedIn to make the most of your impact? Yeah, so that'll be the key thing.
Thank you very much, Jay. So that sounds really good. So do visit the website to book this event, www.wearebiz.co.uk. So we look forward to seeing you next month.